All right, what's up, guys? In today's video, we're going to talk about what is the best long-range rifle to use after the new update in Warzone. As you guys can see on the screen, the XM4 got a recoil improvement, which straightened the recoil pattern to be a lot better. The FARA got a recoil nerf, and the CFD also got a recoil nerf. And along with that, they also reduced the amount of recoil improvement you get with all of these barrels, which definitely nerfs them a little bit. So we're going to take a look at these 6 weapons, which is the Krig 6, the FARA, the C58, the Cold War AK, XM4, and AMAX, compare them head to head, and that new recoil, their range, their mobility, and then obviously how that range and their time to kill affects to see which is the best long range weapon to use right now in Warzone. So if you guys do enjoy the video in any way, it does help you out, you want to subscribe to the channel down below, I would greatly appreciate it. The first thing I want to take a look at is going to be the best class setup for each gun. You guys will see them all on the bottom of the screen. The one only difference you'll notice here is we are running obviously the longest long barrel with the agency suppressor, axial arms 3 times, either 60 or 45 round mag in the field agent. We're going to take a look first is their overall recoil, because that was what was changed the most. All right, so what you guys can see first, this is the 5 weapons. I didn't have the AK pre-patch. I don't know why. But you guys can see the actual amount of vertical recoil the guns have compared to each other. So you can see the FARA, the Krig are slightly better than the other 3 guns. Then the AMAX, the XM4, and the C58 are all about equal. The one difference you will see, obviously, like I said, the XM4 got improved. So when you go to swap over to the new recoil pattern, you guys will be able to see. You guys can see the FARA and the Krig in the middle are still amazing. For some reason, after the patch, the Krig recoil looked to be a lot straighter. I think before it had a lot more horizontal recoil. Then obviously the XM4 in the far left, you guys can see, used to go up and then pull hard. Now it just casually pulls up, which is an excellent improvement. Then the FARA, you guys can see in the left recoil pattern, actually kicked and then stopped kicking and actually pulled down, which was weird. Still has the exact same recoil, not a big difference. The one difference you'll see here, the C58 definitely got a big nerf. You can see it has more recoil in the AMAX and has more recoil in the XM4 and almost double that of the FARA, which before was similar to each weapon. The AK and the FARA obviously has a lot of vertical recoil. Being a controller player on PC, when I actually tested this out, the gun actually shreds and the recoil is extremely controllable because it's purely vertical only. So after the update, the FARA and Krig are still king. I do think the Krig got a definite improvement into being a top tier. It was pre-patch, but for some reason after the buff, the change, I think the recoil pattern is better after the patch because it doesn't move as much. It's purely vertical and vertical only. And obviously the XM4 got a massive improvement. So FARA is still king. Krig is obviously still tied with the FARA. The XM4 is now in 3rd. I think pre-patch I said the C58 was a little bit better. The XM4 is easily 3rd in the recoil pattern. So this is obviously what the big change was. Now I do want to go back over all that data, which is the range, the velocity, the overall mobility, which we did change a couple of our class setups to affect that. Then obviously the time to kill and up to what range. All right, so the first thing you guys will see on the screen, this is just quickly the range, velocity, and fire rate. In a previous couple of my videos, a lot of players wanted me to always include the fire rate. The one huge negative you'll see here, obviously XM4 only 32 meters of range, which is the worst out of every single assault rifle in the game. The Krig at 56 meters is better than every other assault rifle in the game besides the Odin, which is absolutely incredible. Velocity-wise, the AMAX is about 960. I want to include the AMAX in this video just because it's been the most popular weapon for a long time, and it just gives us a good thing to compare to. Obviously, velocity-wise, they're all about equal, with the AK and the C58 being a slightly better. The one huge negative you'll see here, fire rate wise though, is that C58 is at 553, which is extremely unforgiving if you miss a couple of shots, and the AK is a close second behind it. The XM4 has a decent fire rate, is slower than the M4, the Keel, and the Grau, which were previous meta, so it's still in the low end. And the FARA 83 is one of the fastest shooting assault rifles. Why? It's very popular because if you miss one bullet, your next bullet's still coming out 800 rounds per minute versus like the 600 of an AK. So fire rate wise, range wise, the FARA is good. The Krig, the fire rate's a little bit on the low end, but range wise is incredible. So we take a look at those numbers and then we go down to the mobility category. As I said, with the Krig, We do include the 60 round fast mag because it doesn't affect your ADS that much. You guys can see they're all still within 33, 34 milliseconds of each other. The one huge negative you'll see here, obviously, that of the FARA. It has the worst ADS in comparison to the other Cold War ARs, has the slowest movement. The reload is absolutely atrocious. At 2.5 seconds is horrible. The one factor, when I did try to add the 60 round fast mag on there, you guys can see the ADS was almost 500 milliseconds, which was terrible. Meaning you're almost LMG worse than all the LMGs. Like I said, with that Krig, your ADS is 400 milliseconds, which is completely average. You have the fastest movement, the fastest strafe speed. By adding the fast mag on there, you get almost a 1 second reload time. When you factor in, obviously, adding the 45 round mag if you wanted to. With the XM4, you're going to have the fastest ADS. The Krig is still going to have a lot faster ADS. Like I said, with that FARA, you're still going to have a 383, which is average. But like I said, I don't recommend anything other than the 45 or the 60, and never put the fast mag on the FARA because it will 100% chunk your ADS. But like I said, mobility-wise, the Krig is definitely top tier. Movement, strafe, reload is incredible. The reload's twice as fast as the FARA. So mobility-wise, the Krig is definitely in the meta. The XM4 is also definitely in the meta, has a good reload. And if you run the certain specific class setup, you can get the fastest ADS possible while still having good mobility, good strafe speed, which just makes the gun good in the mobility category. So we're going to take a look next is the overall time to kill to compare these guns up to what range and see which guns are actually the best in that category. So what you guys will see on the screen is obviously the time to kill chart. This is the one reason a lot of players wanted me to include the AK, because it absolutely shreds. You guys can see here in white, 500 milliseconds up to about 37 meters, which is completely average, and then 600 beyond that. You guys can see anywhere beyond 40 meters, this gun shreds. Even though the Krig has more range than it by 20 meters, it still kills like 50 milliseconds faster than the Krig, which is what makes it incredible. It just has a very hard recoil, which kicks a lot. But like I said, it's definitely top tier after actually going through and including it in here and comparing against these other weapons. The one thing you'll see are the C58 in red, same range as obviously the AK. Time to kill is incredible. The XM4 is incredible. The Krig is on the low end though. So you guys will see on the screen the chart. We have basically the three ranges that matter, from 0 to 33 meters, which is where they all sort of drop off. And then from 40 to 56 meters is where they've all dropped off. And the Krig is obviously the only gun that still maintains. And then we have beyond 56 meters. So the one fact you'll see here is the AK shreds at every single range, is the fastest killing gun. And that, in my opinion, is why it's one of the best weapons to use. The C58 got nerfed. I previously had it ranked as number 2, actually higher than the Krig. After the new update, I definitely think it takes a drop. FAR, you guys can see, is pretty much the slowest killing gun. But due to the fact that it's the most accurate, when you actually take a look at their headshots and then include headshots, and the one reason the FAR is meta and is the most popular gun in the history of Warzone is because it only requires one headshot. All the way from 0 to 40 meters with one headshot, this gun will kill faster than every gun besides the AK. And that is what makes it extremely very easy to use. It has no recoil. It only takes one headshot to lower your time to kill, which is clearly in the top tier. When you actually take a look at the time to kill category though, that XM4 is always going to be right there in the middle. The AMAX is always going to be right there in the middle. And the C58 is on the high end, and the Krig is on the low end. Like I said though, when you include all of that information, you take a look at the long range, the one factor with the C58 and the AMAX, even though they're average in TTK, they both require one headshot to lower their time to kill to what the base time to kill is, which would make them obviously kill faster than that of the AK and all the other guns, which is what makes them better at the long range. So in my opinion, based on all this information, once again basically going through and looking at the rankings, the FAR, in my opinion, is still number 1. It has good range, and the fact that it requires one headshot only in the base range is what makes it, in my opinion, the number 1 gun still to use. Obviously, recoil-wise, it still has no recoil. The gun has, in my opinion, less recoil than the Krig, even though the Krig probably might have a better recoil pattern. So that is why I do have the Krig ranked 2nd. I think in my previous video, I had the C58 2nd. I now have the Krig 2nd. It has 16 more meters of range, or 20 more meters of range than every other gun, while having a better recoil pattern after the update. When you include that 60 round fast mag on there, you get the fastest reload, the fastest stray speed, the fastest movement, and then from 40 to 56 meters, like I said, you have the fastest killing weapon besides the AK. So it's just a good overall gun. It does everything, and it does everything well. In my opinion, the Krig has no weaknesses, obviously, besides the overall time to kill. That's probably the only thing about it, but it does everything, and it does everything well. Obviously, TTK wise, comparing the FARA to the Krig is going to kill a little bit slower at every single range than the FARA, besides in that mid-range, which is why the FARA is ranked higher, just because it kills faster. The one gun that obviously bumped up in the ranks, XM4, the recoil pattern was 100% improved. Mobility-wise is top 2 with the Krig. Then when you compare the TTK to the FARA and the Krig, at every single range, it kills faster, besides in that mid-range from anywhere from like 30 to 56 meters or 30 to 40 meters. So TTK-wise is top tier because it kills faster than the 2 best weapons in my opinion, while having almost as good a recoil as them, and mobility-wise is excellent. The one thing I will take a note here of, we have the AMAX, the C50, and the AK. These are basically the same weapon. They have a similar recoil, similar damage, similar fire rate. They're basically all big brother, little brother, middle brother. I think the AK is actually the best weapon out of the 3. Like I said previously, I had the AMAX ranked as the worst long-range weapon just because of velocity, and they nerfed it really hard. The C58 has been nerfed to make the recoil worse, which you definitely will notice. The AK, time to kill wise, is incredible. Has the same range as both these guns. Hasn't been nerfed, hasn't been touched. And if you put a certain barrel in there, which they didn't affect, I think the XM4 and AK, both the 2 guns they didn't touch, the recoil is still a bit better improved with that barrel. So I think just because it kills faster than these guns, the recoil is obviously not the best for everybody. In my opinion, when I did use it, I was very easily able to control it on PC with a controller. So I think the AK is 4th. Like I said, if you're going to use the AMAX or the C58, if you want to use the AMAX, you're better off using the C58. If you want to use the C58, you're better off using the AK. Those are 3 same guns, same everything, fire rate, damage, all that stuff. So I think the AK is 4th. For those of you that commented last time saying why is the AK not included, well, this is now why you wanted that. It's easy at top 4 AR. A lot of people probably wonder why I don't have the M13, why I don't have the RAM, why I don't have the Kilo. Those guns just don't compete in my opinion. The only gun that could be included on this list is the RAM 7, but recoil wise is worse than all these guns. It might have the best bullet velocity, it might have an average range, but probably 80% of players can't control the recoil at range. And yes, those comments also said that's the best weapon when mounted, but the odds of you mounting with this weapon are maybe 1 out of 4, 1 out of 3 fights. So to put it in like a niche category where it's only good mounted, it's only good at range because of a couple of those numbers, I don't think it's on here just because it doesn't compete to these top 4 guns, but I would still include it in my top 6. I would personally run the RAM 7 over the AMAX. The AMAX to me is just, it got nerfed too hard and it's just not viable with the overall bullet velocity. So to answer your question about the RAM, I would include it at 6. The M13 kills too slow, the Kilo kills too slow, the Growl kills too slow. The only other gun you could really include on here would be the M4, but if you compare the mobility of that to the XM4, you're better off using the XM4. So like I said, FAR number 1, Krig easy number 2, probably right there with the FAR in my opinion. XM4 same, probably right there with those. These 3 guns are all personal opinion on which one you think is best. Like I said, I still think the FAR is in a category of its own because it has no recoil, and with that one headshot, it's going to crush if you can hit it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did learn something new, like I said, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel down below. If you guys want to buy any GFUEL, my code Trapgod is anywhere from 10 to 30% off all month. So if you guys do buy anything on GFUEL.com, use code Trapgod. Hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you.